we go. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Walking with God. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. Thank you all very much for joining me. See, we've got people coming in the old live room, so thanks. Appreciate you being here. Just wanted to real quick get this shared on Facebook just so people can see it. I hope you'll bear with me for a moment. I actually just got done watching the new commercial. It's a Budweiser commercial done with Dwayne Wade. I think ESPN is showing it right now. And man, if you haven't watched that yet, it's strong stuff. So I got a little misty-eyed right before we came on the air. That was probably not the time for me to go ahead and watch that commercial. But man, it was super cool. I hope you guys will get a chance to go watch that. I'm not sponsored by anyone involved in that commercial, so I'm just, out of the goodness of my heart, telling you to go watch it because it was really good. Thank you for everyone who is in the chat room coming in. I see Jen, Brianne, Joe. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Let's see. We're gonna just get into it. Speaking of Joe, I haven't even talked to you about this yet, but I'm kind of assuming you'll be here next week. But next week we need to have a half hour later start time, because my 9-year-old has a choir performance, and I will absolutely be sitting there watching that rather than sitting here talking to you. So hopefully we can start just a half hour late next week at 8:30, so 8:30 Central Time. So please make sure that you adjust accordingly should you care to watch the show live. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I prefer this whole live environment. I know that I get most of the views and most of the listeners after the fact, but this live stuff is actually pretty cool. So if you are listening and it's not a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time, why don't you come back next week and join us live, because it's a lot of fun, and then I can actually interact with you and see who's in here and make fun of you, especially if you're Joe. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, so Joe is supposed to be on next week. I will get with him and make sure that's the case. But again, 8:30 start time, and yes, he will be here. He's now confirmed. See, this is the magic of the live chat room. We have Joe confirming right now he will be here next week. Again, start time at 8:30. So maybe I will stop telling you that over and over again, because I have a choir show and I'm going to go do that next week. So I was thinking about this week's episode, and just kind of thinking about this whole show that we've got going on here. This whole, whatever you want to call this, a live show, a podcast. Some dummy in his basement talking into a microphone, whatever you might classify this show as. I've kind of felt like maybe with everything that we talk about, maybe this show does make a point of addressing mental health. Okay, is that fair enough to say? I think it's kind of fair enough to say. I mean, we talk about a lot of the things that can really mess with a person's head, mainly being marriage. Marriage can absolutely mess with your head. Divorce, of course, is how this show was born. Parenting, dating, single adult life, which can absolutely play with your mind. Veteran services, religion, prayer, the posture of prayer, positive living, self-improvement. We have covered all of those things at some point in time during the almost 2-year run of this podcast, of this video on Facebook, on whatever you want to call it. So I think that it's fair to say that we, in some way, shape, or form, cover mental health, at least our little corner of it. So with that being the case, of course, we have to cover kind of all ends of it. Now, normally I try and focus on the positive, because that I feel is something we all need to focus on. But there are definitely negative aspects of mental health. Now, we have done episodes before on suicide. We have done single fathers, divorced men, and the suicide rates there, because of course that being a very close passion of mine, given my circumstance and my history. So that's something we've absolutely covered. We have covered PTSD and veterans and the suicides there. We've covered suicides in the church. And so this is kind of the gross negative side that we don't, the people don't like to talk about. It's not fun to talk about. I understand this. It's depressing. It's not what we want to do, but it is so very important that at times we absolutely cover this, and this needs to be one of those times. Okay, so I said in the description, put the kids to bed tonight. We have to have some adult conversations, because things A story this past weekend caught my attention, and it's something that is tragic and absolutely cannot be, it can't just be brushed aside. It can't be untalked about. We've done shows on the military side and, the PTSD, and it is a very real and very terrible thing that affects so many of our veterans coming back from overseas duty, overseas tours. And it's here, it's big, it's prevalent, it's something that we're familiar with, we talk about, but we don't do as much as I think we should. And I'm hoping after tonight we're going to. So I'm going to read you a story. Okay, let me grab my piece of paper here, because I'm going to read you a story, word for word. Okay, I'm not offering, I'm not going against any media guidelines for the coverage of suicide. I am reading you a story that was written, and bear with me. This is going to take us a couple minutes to get through, but ultimately, I think it's super important that we do, and I hope you are as outraged by this as I am. This is written by Jeremy Redmond, and this is out of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Okay, here we go. Settle in. 2 veterans killed themselves at separate Department of Veterans Affairs hospitals in Georgia over the weekend, refocusing attention on what the VA has called its highest clinical priority. The first death happened Friday in the parking lot of the Carl Vinson VA Medical Center in Dublin, according to U.S. Senator Johnny Isaacson's office. The second occurred Saturday outside the main entrance to the Atlanta VA Medical Center in Decatur on Claremont Road. The VA declined to identify the victims or describe the circumstances of their deaths, citing privacy concerns. An email the VA sent the Georgia Department of Veterans Service Monday about the Atlanta incident said VA clinical staff provided immediate aid to the male victim and called 911. The veteran was taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. This incident remains under investigation, and we are working with local investigating authorities, the email continued. The family has been contacted and offered support. The victim in Atlanta was 68 years old and shot himself, according to a person familiar with the investigation who is not authorized to speak publicly about the matter. More than 6,000 veterans killed themselves each year between 2008 and 2016. In 2016, 202 people died by suicide in Georgia, and between 2015 and 2016, the suicide rate per 100,000 people for veterans ages 18 to 34 increased from 40.4 to 45 nationwide, despite the VA's efforts to tackle the problem. In 2013, the VA disclosed that 2 of its officials had retired, 3 had been reprimanded, and others were facing unspecified actions after reports of rampant mismanagement and patient deaths at the VA hospital in Decatur. Federal inspectors issued scathing audits that linked mismanagement to the deaths of 3 veterans there. In one case, a man who was trying to see a VA psychiatrist who was unavailable was told by hospital workers to take public transportation to an emergency room. He never did and died by suicide the next day. Another man died of an apparent drug overdose after providers failed to connect him with a psychiatrist. And a third patient died of an overdose of drugs given to him by another patient. The death of a 4th veteran who killed himself in a hospital bathroom later came to light. In 2014, the Atlanta Center drew attention again after the murder-suicide of Marine veteran Keisha Holmes. She killed her 3 children and then herself at the family's Cobb County apartment. VA officials knew she was in distress and had identified her as a suicide risk. And in November, the Government Accountability Office released a report saying the Veterans Health Administration had spent only $57,000 of the $6.2 million budgeted for fiscal year 2018 for suicide prevention media outreach because of leadership turnover and reorganization within the agency. Let me, if I may, pause one second. Let me read that to you one more time. In November, the Government Accountability Office released a report saying the Veterans Health Administration had spent only $57,000 of the $6.2 million budgeted for fiscal year 2018 for suicide prevention media outreach because of leadership turnover and reorganization within the agency. By not assigning key leadership responsibilities and clear lines of reporting, VHA's ability to oversee the suicide prevention media outreach activities was hindered, and these outreach activities decreased, the report said. The VA said Monday it was reviewing its policies and procedures to see if changes are needed, adding all of its facilities provide, quote unquote, same-day urgent primary and mental health care services. The agency also highlighted its Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255 and www.veteranscrisisline.net. Suicide prevention is VA's highest clinical priority, the VA said in a prepared statement. We are working alongside dozens of partners, including the Department of Defense, to deploy suicide prevention programming that supports all current and former service members, even those who do not come to the VA for care. Isaacson, chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, released a statement on Monday saying he was in touch with the VA about its investigations of last weekend's suicide, calling them tragedies that we hear about far too often. While we have taken a number of steps to address and prevent veteran suicide, this weekend's tragic deaths clearly indicate that we must do better, he said. We will redouble our efforts on behalf of our veterans and their loved ones, including our efforts to reduce the stigma of seeking treatment for mental health issues. Mike Roby, commissioner of the Georgia Department of Veterans Service, said he also is keeping in touch with the VA about what happened. I and my senior staff will stay close in contact with both medical directors and their staffs as they work with federal authorities through the investigations, he said by email. Our field service officers located at both medical centers remain ready to assist and support veterans and their families. So, there's that. That was in the news from this past weekend, as I just covered up the camera. Sorry. What can I offer? I mean, seriously, what can I possibly say after reading that to all of you? I understand this is not the lighthearted and fun show that I oftentimes will try and put forward, but there's nothing that I can say that's going to make that situation any better. 2 men died by suicide because they did not receive the help they needed and the help that a veteran is entitled to. Okay, so you might be wondering, why am I not wearing a hat from Georgia? The hats, it's kind of our big thing here on the show. I always wear the hats for support, to support an area affected, and I honestly cannot support Georgia right now after that article. Again, I am absolutely floored and flabbergasted by what I read and by this story that came out. And they're right. They did get this right in the article that this is something that we hear of all too often. It has affected this area here as well. And now it is again being brought to light down in Georgia. And it's just absolutely just beyond me how these things are still happening. Again, we have information going back as far as 2003, 2002, even before that, that returning servicemen and women have these struggles, they have these issues, they are fighting things that weapons can't defeat, and we're giving them nothing, absolutely nothing, to fight this battle with. And again, for the people who went over and fought for our freedom, this is how we do them when they come home. It is absolutely infuriating to me that this is a situation. So, I can't support the state of Georgia in this situation. I hope that they will look at this and that any publicity that it gets will help guide them to a better solution. I think that definitely the VA down in Georgia has some answering to do for why this situation occurred and what they need to change to make sure this never happens again. Media guidelines for reporting on suicide state that anytime you discuss the subject of suicide, you should always try and give out information to help. And so, all right, I am certainly not a media outlet, but I will absolutely follow that guideline. So if you or someone that you know have had some thoughts or tend more towards that side of the battle of mental health, let me just give you some information. Number one that they suggest, of course, is suicide.org. That is a resource for anything that you might need, even if it's a phone number, if it's a kind word, if it's whatever it might be. That is kind of the one-stop shop for mental health needs, especially as it pertains to suicide. There is also the National Suicide Hotline. The number is 1-800-SUICIDE. And then there's another one, a secondary one, where maybe you just need someone to talk to. That is 1-800-273-TALK. So 1-800-273-TALK. I will offer my solution. The group, and I've talked about it here before on the show, and it's the group here in Kansas City that I helped found. And that is, if you want to go to the website, is teamfidelis.org. You can also find Team Fidelis on Facebook. If you are local to Kansas City, if you are in Kansas or Missouri, or even in Iowa, maybe Oklahoma, if you're in the Midwest, you can absolutely reach out and people will be in touch with you. How do I know? Because I'm one of those people. And I see my boy Kent in here too, who's checked in. He is one of those people. Okay, so if you are a veteran, I'll have you talk to my boy Kent, because I know he's going to take care of you. So if you are local to this area, again, teamfidelis.org, or find him on Facebook. I will put a link up there later on the show's website, or the show's Facebook page, I'm sorry, so that maybe you can get yourself over there and come out. Just come out to the events, because it is so important for interaction, just to interact with people, with other veterans, with other members of the community, with a talking dummy with a microphone, whoever you need to interact with. I know that it helps. It is proven to help. And if you're a person on the other end of that, if you know of someone who's struggling, then you need to be reaching out to them. There is zero excuse that they are going through this alone. If you know someone is struggling, if you know it, even if you don't know it, even if you suspect, you need to be reaching out and you need to be checking on people. Buddy check. That's what it is. And that is what will help to end this issue. Because I venture this guess, I venture this opinion, not based in any fact. I think that the loneliness of what a lot of these people are going through is what eventually pushes them over the edge. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. But I feel, knowing myself, when I went through my issues with mental health, it was the loneliness that almost had my name written on it. That's honest to God truth. Mine was not PTSD. It was not military related. It was divorce related. But I can tell you that there were the times I sat in my apartment staring at the walls, just begging for someone to knock on my door, for someone to call my phone. I was too prideful to reach out. But man, if somebody could have just knocked, it would have meant the world to me. So that is what I am extending to all of you. Reach out to someone. Reach out to that person you know is struggling, who just went through a divorce, who just came home from deployment, who just lost their job, who's having a problem or a crisis in faith. Whoever they might be, you reach out to them. And yeah, sure, they're going to smack your hand away the first couple times you offer it, until they don't. They will knock your hand away until they don't, until they realize, you know what, this person's really here for me. And they're really here to help me. And I'm really needing this, and I will really accept that help. They get there. Trust me, they get there. I got there. So, yeah, that's okay. So teamfidelis.org. And again, I went off on a bunny trail, and I'm sorry. But Team Fidelis is 100% volunteer-led. I know, because I'm one of the volunteers, one of the founders, and I received $0 in 3 years from them. It's a 501c3 charity that you can donate to. And I know for a fact it has helped people. I have seen the emails. I have seen the messages that have been sent to me and sent to others saying, oh my gosh, you guys helped us so much. Thank you. Again, you don't even have to say thank you. I'm just glad to know we helped. Remember what we talked about previously when Joe was on? We did the show with Joe on mental health. You know, people who are suffering from depression or PTSD or anything else that it's affecting their mental health. Just keep in mind, the services out there do not make you weak. The psychologist or the psychiatrist does not make you weak. Taking the oh my gosh, I just totally blanked on the name. But you know, taking something to help calm your mind and to help calm those feelings that are burning inside of you does not make you weak. None of those things make you weak. What makes you strong is knowing that you need the help. What makes you a badass is knowing I can't do this on my own at this moment. I just need a little assistance. that is where you are the strongest. So please remember, it is not a sin to get help. You are not weak if you need help. We all need help. And if I hadn't done it many moons ago, I would not be sitting here right now. The psychiatrist that I went and saw was life-changing, absolutely life-changing, which is why I'm sitting here right now. I totally give all the credit to Larson Barnes. I'll tell you exactly right now who it is, and that's the dude who absolutely gets all the credit for me sitting here right now. So, what I'm telling you to do is to check on your friends, just to check on the people who are struggling. If you know someone is struggling, you can check on them. You can invite them out. You can go take them to a movie, take them to dinner, go bowling. Just be aware that your presence can have a profound effect on someone who is struggling with their mental health. Now, I will tell you, I feel like I've made a mistake. Okay, and I've done this actually very recently, and it only just dawned on me that I might have really been doing something wrong in this situation. So for me, like if I want to interact with you, if I want to talk to you, if I want to get make sure you're comfortable, and really we can open up and have a good dialogue and a good discussion, well, I'm going to invite you out for a drink. Like, that's just kind of my thing. Hey, let's grab a beer, let's go talk it out. Whatever your poison might be, let's go ahead and do that. Well, that's really not the best idea, and I now, kind of looking on it, feel pretty bad that I've done that so many times. And so we all know, okay, alcohol is a mood enhancer, and so when I'm drinking, I'm either happy drunk, woo, or I'm really sad drunk, or I'm an angry drunk, and really all the alcohol is doing is kind of taking whatever emotion you're really feeling and amplifying it. So if you're already sad and you start drinking, you're going to be more sad. If you're already in a great mood and you start drinking, hey, I'm going to be happy. So I pulled this up. I mean, this is nothing new. This is nothing different. But just I wanted to have a little bit of factual information. And then this is, the effect alcohol has on your mood. Alcohol can also affect your body's functions in a negative way that further exacerbates depression symptoms. Alcohol can lower serotonin and norepinephrine levels, which help regulate mood. Lower levels of these chemicals can make a depressed person more depressed. Alcohol temporarily cuts off the effects of stress hormones. Okay, so yeah, temporarily it's going to relieve your stress, but then it's also going to make you sadder. It's going to make you more upset. And so I have been doing the terrible thing by inviting people out for a drink. Oh, you don't feel good? You feel sad? You're upset? Oh, let's grab a drink. That'll help. Okay, hindsight being what it is, maybe it hasn't. Maybe that was not the best idea. So I've made that mistake. So when I make mistakes, I want to rectify those mistakes to the best of my ability, and there's only so many things I can do. But I do want to issue, and you might think this is silly, and if you think this is silly, that's totally cool. You come up with something to do, but we can't just do nothing. Okay, so what I want to do, and again, if I can tell one person about this, or the 7 who are listening live right now, then it's going to work. It's gonna spread, and it's gonna work on some level. I maybe it won't. I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyway. So my mistake is asking people out to drink. Okay, well, we have 2 months coming up. We have May, which has Armed Forces Day in it. May 18th is Armed Forces Day. Okay, so big military day. We have Memorial Day in May. Okay, that's our big 3-day weekend, the unofficial start of summer. Let's cook out and drink and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we've got that coming up. And then June is PTSD Awareness Month. Okay, the whole month. It's not just one day. The whole month is PTSD Awareness Month. So we've got May with Armed Forces Day, Memorial Day, and June with PTSD Awareness Month. So for what I'm going to do, and again, this is just my challenge to me personally, and whenever I have to think about this, it's going to remind me why I'm doing it. And if someone asks me why I'm doing it, then I can tell them. But for May and June, I am going to go 100% alcohol free. Again, you might think that's stupid. That's fine. You absolutely think that. But this kind of means something to me. Hey, it's not going to be easy. That is not easy for me because there's not much I like more than just kicking back with someone or having a beer. Just kind of who I am, what I'm about. If I'm cooking out especially. And I've got plans coming up in May. I've got plans coming up in June that a beer would be great to have with. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I feel like I've made a mistake when it comes to alcohol and as it relates to mental illness. So let me try and make that situation right. And if somebody says, hey, why aren't you drinking? I can tell them why. And getting that out there, I think, is more important than enjoying an adult beverage. So that's my challenge. That's what I'm going to do for me. I am going to abstain from alcohol for both months of May and June. And, we'll just, there's my sacrifice. And I use sacrifice ironically because it's not sacrificing anything. It's called doing something that's smart anyway. So if you think it's completely cheesy, if you think it's dumb, that's cool. Find your own way to relay the message to people that we want this epidemic of suicide to end. Okay, however you want to do it. And use May and June as your test months. Okay, and whether that be you go to teamfidelis.org and you sign up as a teammate, you come out to our events, you start wearing the t-shirts, you start raising awareness, then that's great. If you call your buddy who is struggling, and you call your dude who just got divorced or his wife just left him, or you call your girlfriend who got dumped by that jerk face who ran off with that other chick, that's fine. Let that be how you're reaching out and how you are trying to help people who might be going through the junk. Okay, just however you decide to do it, just do it. Don't talk about it, don't think about it, don't plan it out, just do it. Because so many times our best intentions just get left by the wayside because, maybe it's silly. Maybe my idea to help someone or how I want to help someone is silly, and so then they don't do it. Okay, my idea is stupid, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And if I can tell one person about it in those 2 months, say, hey, I am not drinking because I have made mistakes previously, and I have offered alcohol to people who are suffering from mental illness or mentally down, whatever you want to call it, whatever the proper term is. So I am avoiding it. I am not doing it so that I don't offer it to someone else, so that they may start to turn that corner and come back to the more positive side. If you got something better, do it. Share it with the show. Put it on the Facebook page. I'll do it with you. You got a good idea? Let's all do it together. This is what I'm doing. If you like it, you do it. If you got something else, I'll do it. Let's go. Works for me. So there it is. That is my story, and I'm sticking to it tonight. I told you this was going to be more of an adult conversation, certainly not something I want you to have to relay to your kids, even though, hey, the whole suicide in school thing is running rampant as well. And that is something we're probably going to address more in the month of May. We've got a few people I'm trying to get lined up to maybe come talk to us in May, because we're really going to focus on kind of the student aspect of things. As school is coming to an end, summertime is coming up, so I've got a couple different ideas on ways that we're going to kind of usher us all into the summer before this show takes its summer break. So please give me your feedback. Love this show, hate the show, whatever. If you love it, share it. If you don't, let me know why I'm terrible, and I'll try and be better, because that's how we all improve in life. So let's pray. I'll send you on out of here because, wow, it's 8:30. That was a fast half hour. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. I want to, I don't even know how to phrase this correctly to you. I just want you to bring peace to those who are hurting, and bring strength to all of us to help those who are hurting. Let us put our pride and our comfort levels on side so that we can help someone else. People are struggling, and we know because of this article that people are dying. And that is not what needs to be happening to our veteran community and to the people that we claim to care about. So Lord, help us to be better. Help them to get better. And then let's all come together to help everyone else. I don't know if that made sense, but Lord, you know where my heart is. It's probably right there with everyone else who's watching. So we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me tonight. I appreciate it as always. Joe's going to be here next week, and we're going to start at 8:30 Central Time, just because I'm going to a choir concert with a bunch of 9-year-olds. So should be something. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you in 7 days. Thank you very much. And hey, seriously, if I can help you, reach out. I'm more than happy to. And if you need help in any way, you just contact the show. I will send the right reinforcements charging your direction. All right, that is what we do. So anyway, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.